Sometimes the most dangerous sign isn't a loud argument or a dramatic gesture. It's a single sentence that freezes you. Picture this: you share something personal and he shrugs, "You're too sensitive," or laughs it off. That tiny moment tells you everything. When someone dismisses your feelings, they're telling you your voice doesn't matter. Believe that signal. You're too sensitive. At first it can sound like a small tease, maybe even playful, but when a man uses this line to shut down how you feel, it's not harmless. It's a warning. Sensitivity is simply awareness. It's your emotional radar picking up something that matters. When he brushes that aside, he's telling you your instincts are inconvenient to him. That's not love, that's control dressed up as casual talk. Think about the subtle message inside those words. He's not saying, "I didn't mean to hurt you," or "let's understand each other better." He's saying, "The problem isn't what I did. The problem is that you noticed." That flips the spotlight away from his actions and onto your reaction. It's a quiet form of gaslighting. Over time, it trains you to doubt your own perception. You start wondering, maybe I am overreacting. That's exactly what keeps you stuck. When someone truly cares, they might not always agree with your feelings, but they respect them. They slow down and ask, "Help me understand why that hurt." They want clarity, not victory. A man who dismisses you with, "You're too sensitive," is showing that he values comfort over honesty. He's protecting his ego instead of protecting the connection. This phrase also chips away at your confidence in ways that aren't obvious at first. Each time you hear it, a little piece of your voice gets quieter. Maybe you stop bringing things up. Maybe you start apologizing for simply having emotions. Before long, you're carrying the entire weight of the relationship on your own shoulders because he's decided that his feelings are the only ones that matter. That imbalance is the beginning of emotional neglect. It's important to remember that sensitivity is not weakness. It's a sign of depth. The ability to feel is the very thing that allows love to thrive. If he can't respect that part of you, he's not just rejecting a single conversation, he's rejecting the real you. And if he's unwilling to meet you there, you will always feel alone, even when you're standing right beside him. Sometimes women stay because they think, maybe he doesn't know better. Maybe he'll change if I explain it one more time. But notice the pattern. When someone cares, the explanation doesn't have to be repeated. They listen the first time. They might stumble, but they try. Someone who keeps saying, "You're too sensitive," after you've shared your truth, isn't trying to grow. They're trying to avoid accountability. The healthiest relationships are built on mutual respect. That means both people can bring their feelings to the table without fear of being mocked or minimized. When he chooses to dismiss your feelings, he's telling you he doesn't want a partner, he wants an audience. You deserve someone who treats your heart like it matters, who knows that empathy is strength, not inconvenience. So when those 3 words come at you, "You're too sensitive," don't shrug them off. Don't start rewriting your own story to make him comfortable. Hear them for what they are, a quiet but clear message that your emotions aren't safe with him. And when someone shows you that, the most powerful move you can make is to step back. Trust your own perception and leave before that voice inside you gets any quieter. I don't owe anyone an explanation. At first it can sound like confidence, even independence. But when a man uses this line in the context of a relationship, pay attention. What he's really saying is, "I will do what I want, and you don't get to ask why." In a healthy partnership, independence and accountability live side by side. Freedom doesn't mean shutting the door on basic respect. Relationships thrive on transparency. Not the kind where you need to report every minute of your day, but the kind where both people feel safe to share what they're doing, who they're with, and how they feel. When he refuses to explain, whether it's about disappearing for hours, canceling plans without notice, or making decisions that affect you both, he isn't protecting his privacy. he's protecting his ability to avoid responsibility. Notice how this phrase works in practice. You ask a simple question, maybe about a sudden change in his schedule or a text that seemed odd. Instead of a calm answer, he throws up a wall. I don't owe anyone an explanation. Now the focus isn't on his behavior. It's on you for daring to ask. It's a conversation stopper, and it subtly teaches you to stop seeking clarity. Over time, you might start telling yourself, maybe I'm being controlling. But wanting honesty is not control, it's connection. A man who cares about you understands that explanations are part of trust. He doesn't see your curiosity as an interrogation, he sees it as a natural part of intimacy. He wants you to feel included in his world. He knows that if he's running late, a simple message matters. If something is weighing on him, he'll share enough to let you know where you stand. He respects that a relationship is a team, not a solo performance. The danger of accepting, I don't owe anyone an explanation, is that it normalizes secrecy. Secrecy breeds suspicion, and suspicion erodes love. When you can't ask questions, you can't build certainty. Instead of a partnership, you end up with a guessing game where you're always one step behind, trying to decode someone who refuses to be known. That's not romance. That's emotional exile. Some people confuse mystery with maturity. They think that keeping things vague makes them more attractive, as if being hard to read is proof of strength. But real strength is vulnerability. It's being willing to show your thoughts and own your choices. A man who hides behind that phrase is telling you he's not ready for that level of openness, and you can't force him to be ready. You might be tempted to stay, hoping he'll eventually let you in. But patterns like this rarely soften with time. The longer you accept it, the more it becomes the unspoken rule of the relationship. He acts, you adjust, and no questions are welcome. That's not a foundation you can build a future on. A partnership where you have to silence your curiosity is a partnership where you slowly disappear. You deserve to be with someone who welcomes your questions, who sees them as a sign of love, not intrusion. If he believes that basic accountability is optional, believe him, and understand what that means for your happiness. When you hear those words, I don't owe anyone an explanation, don't just hear defiance. Hear the truth he's revealing. He's not ready to share his life, his plans, or his heart, and you have every right to walk away before that wall becomes the cage you live in. If you loved me, you'd pive. It sounds almost harmless at first, like a plea for understanding. But hidden inside that short sentence is a quiet form of control. Love is never a bargaining chip, and the moment someone tries to make it one, they reveal more about their intentions than their feelings. When a man says this, he's not inviting closeness, he's setting conditions. Think about what's really happening when those words appear. You bring up a boundary. Maybe you're not comfortable with how late he stays out, or you're hesitant about something intimate, or you simply want time for yourself. Instead of respecting that, he frames your boundary as proof that you don't love him enough. The issue stops being the situation and becomes a test of your affection. That's manipulation, not romance. Real love doesn't need a test. It doesn't need to coerce. A partner who genuinely cares wants to understand why you feel the way you do. He may disagree, but he works with you to find common ground. If you loved me, does the opposite. It turns love into leverage, a tool to get his way. Each time you give in, the message gets stronger. Your comfort is less important than keeping him happy. This tactic can be subtle. It might start with small things. If you loved me, you'd cancel your plans tonight. Then it grows. If you loved me, you'd quit that job, or you'd cut ties with that friend. Slowly, the space that once belonged to your own choices shrinks. You begin to second guess your instincts, wondering if saying no really does mean you're less devoted. Over time, you may barely recognize yourself because love has been twisted into obligation. Healthy relationships thrive on free will. When you do something kind for the person you love, It's meaningful precisely because it's voluntary. It's a gift, not a debt. The moment love becomes a currency you have to spend to keep someone from leaving or sulking, it stops being love and becomes a transaction. And transactions eventually run dry. You deserve a partner who celebrates your independence, who sees your boundaries as part of what makes you whole. A man who respects you will never frame his desires as a test of your heart. He'll say, "I'd love it if you could," or "This matters to me. Can we talk about it?" That's vulnerability. That's partnership. He invites you to choose rather than cornering you into proving yourself. It's tempting to believe that if you just show more devotion, the pressure will fade. But people who use this phrase rarely stop when they get what they want. The moment you meet one demand, another appears. The real question is never about the specific request, it's about control. And control doesn't disappear because you complied once. It only grows. When you hear, "If you loved me, don't rush to defend your heart. Don't scramble to prove that you care. Instead, pause. Recognize that the very fact you're being asked to prove your love is the clearest proof that something is wrong. Love is a choice made freely, every day without coercion. The right partner will never ask you to betray yourself to prove you care. And the moment someone does, you have every right to walk away with your self-respect intact. My ex was crazy. On the surface, it might sound like harmless small talk, even a funny anecdote. But when a man keeps repeating that every woman before you was crazy, you need to listen closely. One offhand comment is one thing. A pattern of blaming every past partner is a flashing warning light. It tells you far more about him than about any of those women. Notice what that phrase quietly communicates. First, it erases the complexity of real relationships. Breakups are rarely one-sided. There are misunderstandings, mismatched needs, and lessons to be learned. By painting every ex as unstable, he's sending the message that he played no role in the problems. That's not storytelling, that's avoidance of responsibility. Over time, this narrative serves a purpose. It casts him as the long-suffering hero who's always been wronged. You, the new partner, are supposed to feel lucky you're not like those other women. It's a subtle invitation to compete with ghosts, to work harder to prove you're different, calmer, easier. And if conflict ever does arise, you'll hesitate to speak up, worried that you might become the next crazy ex in his collection of stories. Healthy people own their history. They can describe past relationships with nuance. We weren't right for each other, or we both made mistakes. They might share lessons learned, not insults hurled. That kind of reflection shows emotional maturity. When he refuses to do that and instead reduces every woman to a caricature, he's revealing his inability or unwillingness to grow. It also hints at how he might talk about you when things get hard. If every former partner was supposedly unreasonable, what will he say about you the first time you set a boundary or disagree? Someone who casually undermines the character of every ex is showing you how he handles conflict by attacking character instead of addressing behavior. That's a preview of how he'll treat you when the honeymoon phase fades. Sometimes this phrase is used to rewrite history. Maybe an ex called out real issues, jealousy, dishonesty, emotional neglect. And rather than facing those truths, he slapped on the crazy label to keep his own image intact. It's easier to dismiss a woman's concerns if you convince everyone she was irrational. But labeling someone crazy doesn't erase what actually happened. It only exposes his fear of accountability. You might feel tempted to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he really did date someone with serious struggles. But pay attention to tone and frequency. Is he compassionate when he speaks, or mocking? Does he share context or just drop the word crazy like a punchline? A single thoughtful story about a difficult relationship is different from a constant refrain that every ex was unstable. The pattern, not the isolated moment, is what matters. A strong partnership is built on respect for each other and for the past that shaped you. You deserve someone who talks about former partners with dignity, who can honor lessons without demeaning people. If he can't do that, he's showing you he hasn't learned what real respect looks like. So when you hear, "My ex was crazy," more than once, don't just laugh it off. Hear the subtext: "I refuse to take responsibility. I rewrite history to protect my ego." Believe that message. Because the way he speaks about his past is a quiet forecast of your future, and you deserve better than becoming the next chapter in a story he tells to avoid his own reflection. "I can't give you what you want right now." At first, this can sound gentle, even considerate. He might deliver it with a sigh and a look that almost invites sympathy, as if he's protecting you from disappointment. But behind the softness is a hard truth. He's telling you that your hopes for the relationship are not his priority, and he'd rather keep you waiting than lose the comfort of your presence. When someone says this, they often frame it as honesty, and in a way it is, but honesty isn't the same as commitment. He's letting you know he won't meet you where you are, yet he hopes you'll stay anyway. It's like holding the door open just enough to keep you from walking out while never actually inviting you inside. That halfway promise can feel intoxicating because it leaves room for hope. You think, at least he's being upfront. Maybe with time, he'll be ready. That hope is the trap. Relationships grow through shared vision. If you want a future together, whether that's exclusivity, marriage, or simply deeper emotional intimacy, you both need to walk toward it. When he says he can't give you what you want right now, he's signaling that he's standing still. The phrase is open-ended on purpose. There's no timeline, no real plan, just a vague suggestion that someday things might change. Meanwhile, you keep investing your heart, rearranging your life around a possibility that may never arrive. People who use this line often enjoy the best of both worlds, your loyalty and affection without the responsibilities of full partnership. He may treat you lovingly, share deep conversations, and create moments that feel like proof of a future. Yet, when the topic turns to defining the relationship, he retreats behind those words again. The cycle keeps you tethered, close enough to feel connected, far enough to keep you unsatisfied. A healthy partner doesn't leave you guessing. Even if he's not ready for marriage or a big next step, he offers clarity and concrete intentions. "I'm not ready to move in this year, but here's what I'm working toward, and here's how we can build together." That shows respect. It turns "not now" into "or's how." The difference is everything. Staying in a holding pattern has a quiet cost. Your self-worth starts to depend on his eventual readiness. You postpone your own dreams, maybe a move, a career decision, or simply the freedom to meet someone who wants what you want, because you keep waiting for him to catch up. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to leave, because the time invested starts to feel like proof you should stay. That's sunk cost thinking, not love. You might tell yourself that patience is noble, that giving him space proves the depth of your feelings. But true patience supports growth. It doesn't excuse avoidance. If he's genuinely working on himself, you'll see consistent action therapy, communication, shared plans. If all you see is the same comfortable routine and the same phrase repeated, you're not witnessing growth, you're witnessing stalling. The most painful truth is that someone can care about you deeply and still not choose you fully. Caring is not the same as committing. When he says, "I can't give you what you want right now," believe him, he's telling you his limits. Your job isn't to convince him otherwise, it's to decide whether those limits fit the life you deserve. Love is not about waiting in the hallway of someone else's indecision. You deserve a partner who meets you in the present, who shares your vision and moves forward with you, not someone who keeps you suspended in a promise that never solidifies. When those words land, hear them as a clear signal. It's time to step toward the future you want, even if that means stepping away. You're lucky I'm with you. It might come wrapped in a smirk, a teasing tone, or even a playful wink, but don't be fooled by the delivery. Whether said in frustration or disguised as a joke, those 5 words carry a quiet sting. They're meant to make you feel as if the relationship is a favor he's granting, as though your value depends on his presence. That isn't love, it's a power play. Think about the message hidden inside the sentence. He's not celebrating your connection or appreciating what you bring to the partnership. He's ranking himself above you. The implication is clear. He believes you should be grateful that someone like him chose someone like you. Over time, this chips away at your sense of equality. Instead of standing beside him as an equal, you start to feel like you're standing in his shadow. Sometimes it slips out in moments of conflict. Maybe you express a need or set a boundary, and he fires back, "You're lucky I'm with you," as if that cancels the conversation. Other times it comes as a half joke when you receive a compliment or achieve something on your own. See, not everyone gets someone like me. Either way, it sends the same signal that you should treat his presence as a prize. Healthy relationships aren't based on hierarchy. They're built on mutual admiration and respect. A loving partner might say, "I feel lucky to be with you," which is entirely different. That version is about gratitude, not superiority. The difference between "I feel lucky" and "you're lucky" is the difference between partnership and possession. Over time, hearing that phrase can create a subtle but powerful shift in how you see yourself. You might begin to question your worth, to wonder if maybe he really is out of your league. You might work harder to keep his attention, fearing that if you make a mistake, you'll lose the luck he's granting you. That mindset can trap you in a cycle where you accept less than you deserve because you've been convinced you should be grateful for even that. A man who uses this line repeatedly often pairs it with other minimizing behaviors, downplaying your accomplishments, comparing you to others, or highlighting his own sacrifices as if they outweigh yours. It's all part of creating an imbalance where his needs, his choices, and his ego stay at the center. The more you accept it, the more that imbalance becomes normal. Real love doesn't keep score. It doesn't measure who's more attractive, more successful, or more desired. It thrives on mutual respect, where both people know they bring something irreplaceable to the table. When someone truly values you, they see your worth clearly and they remind you of it, not to inflate your ego, but to honor the truth of what you contribute to the relationship and to their life. You deserve a partner who speaks with appreciation, not condescension. Someone who celebrates your presence as much as you celebrate theirs. Someone who says, I'm grateful we found each other, because they know love is a shared gift, not a one-sided charity. So when you hear, "You're lucky I'm with you," listen closely. Don't laugh it off. Don't let it slide because it was just a joke. Jokes reveal beliefs, and this one reveals a belief that you should feel indebted for a love that should always be mutual. The truth is, both people in a healthy relationship are lucky, and that luck is built on respect, not arrogance. If he can't see that, it's time to step back and remember that you are not lucky to have him. Anyone worthy will be lucky to have you.